back to my channel. My name is Laura, and today I'm going to share with you my progress of my year around in 52 books. I read 19 books so far in the 52, and I'm going to share with you how I'm tracking it. So the first thing I made is a magazine journal, and I already shared this with you, but I'm going to share with you again. I made a big page, and this is how I'm plugging in the photos of the books that I completed so far. So I have a lot more to go, but as you can see, I started to skip around. I was reading it in order, and then I'm such a mood reader, I can't keep track of staying in order. I completed 42 books already. Today is May 21st that I'm recording this. I've finished 42 books, and last night I went through the whole 52 weeks and I plugged in the books that I already read. So yeah, so here is what it looks like, and I'm going to share with you how I'm recording in my calendar. So I have a calendar that I got from Dollar Tree and this is my reading calendar, and I recovered it with Snoopy because Snoopy's my favorite. I've shared this before. I have one from last year. I just took the cover off and put it onto this one, and I have one from this year, and I write in here what books I plan to read, kind of like a TBR, but more like if there's readathons and stuff like that, I keep track in here. So in my one page here is all the challenges that for around the year in 52 books, and each book it tells you what to read, and then I check off as I read them. So I read 19 books so far, and then what I did last night, as I read them, I took the whole calendar and I noted week 1, week 2, week 3. So how I did it here, this is week 1, 2, and 3. On the very end of the calendar, on every page, I did his week 1, his week 2, his week 3, his week 4, his week 5, and I did it throughout the whole calendar, okay? So then when I went back, as I was reading the books and completing them, I was writing week 1, and that was completing, and then I would check it off. So week 1's complete, week 2's complete, and I would write down the books and stuff like that. So throughout the whole calendar. Okay, so what did I do last night? Last night I sat here and I put post-it notes on every single week. And because I am a mood reader, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to July, okay? So in July, I already read one book because I plugged it in. But there are books that I haven't read yet, and so on each each week, I put a post-it, and I looked up all the books in that category. So, trying to think. So let's go to week 29, and let me see the category. What is week 29? Week 29 is, I go to the front of the book, it tells me. Week 29 is a book published outside the 4 major publishing houses. Okay, so they give you a link, and you can click on the link, and it brings up a whole bunch of books that are in that category. So what I did on every post-it note, on every challenge, I wrote down the books that I might read during that week. So yeah, this is like a TBR, but I am only going to read one book. So I put my options there, so when I get to that point, I am able to read it. So on week 29, I picked The Bell Jar, Handmaid's Tale, Color Purple, Slaughterhouse-Five, or Outsiders. So when I get to that point, I could pick one of those books, read it, and then like take my post-it off and throw it out in the garbage, and then note it in here that I read it. So like on week 28, I read a nonfiction book. I read The Zookeeper's Wife, which I already read, and I wrote it in there. So there's no post-it there because it's already completed. So that's how I'm working throughout the whole entire book. So I don't know if anybody else is doing this challenge, but it's really cool because now I know what I'm reading for that week, and I just picked out the book because I'm a mood reader. As I said, I can't make a TBR and like physically say, oh, I'm going to read this for that challenge. I have to have options. So, and so sometimes I will pick up a book and I'm like, I DNF it, and then at least I have another option to pick something else to read. So yeah. So that's it. So let me share with you really quickly the challenges that I completed so far. Okay, week 1 was a book from a Goodreads Choice Awards 2016. I read It Ends With Us, and I gave it 5 stars. Week number 2, a book with at least 2 perspectives, and I read Sun Is Also a Star, and I gave that one 3 stars. Week number 3, a book you meant to read in 2016, and I read I'll Give You the Sun, and I gave it 4 stars. Book number 4, a title that doesn't contain the letter E, and book number 4, I read Hollow City, and I gave that one 4 stars. Week number 5, a historical fiction. I read Kindred, and I gave that one 5 stars. It was one of my favorites. Okay. Book number 6, a book being released as a movie in 2017, and I read Before I Fall, and I gave that one 4 stars. Week number 7, a book with an animal on the cover or in the title. I read The Female of the Species, and I gave it 4 stars. Week number 8, a book written by a person of color. I read The Hate You Give, and I gave it 3 stars. Week number 9, a book in middle of your to-be-read list, and I read The Bear, and I gave it 3 stars. Week number 10, a dual lifetime novel. I read 13 Reasons Why, and I gave it 4 stars. Week number 11, a category from another challenge, a book based on a fairy tale. I read Court of Thorns and Roses, and I gave it 3 stars. Now this is where I jump challenges. So I jumped to week 22. I read a book by an author you haven't read before. I read The Diviners by Libba Bray, and I gave it 3 stars. Week 23, a book from a BBC, The Big Red List, and I read The Goosebumps, the first book of the series, and I gave that one 5 stars. So there is a long list here, and I highlighted all the books that I read in here, and I don't think I read that many in that week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm counting them now, 8, 9, 10, 11. I read 10 books on this list. There's 200 books on this list, and this is by the Big Red List, based by the United Kingdoms in 2003. This is the list they gave us, and I read the Goosebumps book. Okay, then I went to, I'm trying to think here now, I did the Goosebumps, then I skipped to week number 28, which was nonfiction, and I read The Zookeeper's Wife, which I gave 2 stars to. Then I skipped again. I went to week 31, a book from a subgenre of your favorite genre, and I kind of picked mystery as my favorite genre because I already read Crime and Poetry, and I gave that one 4 stars. It's a cozy mystery. Okay, week number 32, a book with a long title. I just finished this book, and I had to count it in here somewhere. So I read Harry Potter book 5, and I gave it 3 stars. Then I skipped to week number 45. I read a book with a one-word title, and I just read Flipped for middle grade lit, and I gave that one 4 stars. And one more. On week number 48, a banned book, and I didn't put it in my book here. 48, let me check my calendar. The picture's not in there. 48, I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and I gave that one 2 stars. And then the last book that I read for number 19 was week 52, was a book set in a fictional location, And I read Shadow and Bone, and I gave it 2 stars. I didn't really like it that much. So, yeah, so I read a lot already, and I started to skip around because I already read 42 books already, and I had to put them in somehow. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in another video. Bye!